You ever hear the phrase, "the customer is always right"? Most of the time, you hear this within the context of the retail and food industries, where franchises often expect their exasperated employees to listen to the angry yapping of a Karen with a "may I please speak to your manager" haircut, who's almost unbelievably upset with the fact that you put mayonnaise on her sandwich, even though she asked for it. This pandering to consumer interests, which may or may not have even existed in the first place, is a result of consumerism. Consumerism is a social and economic order that encourages the acquisition of goods and services in ever-increasing amounts. In 1960, consumers in the US spent around $2 trillion. Today, this number has increased sevenfold to around 14 trillion. In this speech, I'll cover a variety of topics related to consumerism, including its origins, its impacts on the world, and how you can stop yourself from buying more than you should. First, let's cover the beginning. Before the Industrial Revolution, you could probably count all your personal belongings on your fingers, but nowadays it would take most of us hours to catalog our stuff. The Industrial Revolution introduced an exponential increase in manufacturing and the expansion of a new middle class. Suddenly, factories were making so many things so quickly that for the first time in history, there was more supply than demand. This is a big problem. Luckily, this new middle class proved to be a convenient solution. The word marketing gained new meaning as things like advertisements and brand image came into being. Advertisements drew inspiration from the widespread propaganda of the Great War and influenced the public opinion to encourage spending. Styling gained more and more importance as the success of an item depended on its status in public view. Department stores turned shopping into a fun activity rather than a necessary chore. Advertisers realized that the one thing that the poor wanted was to feel like the upper class, and so budget versions of luxury items were created and became incredibly successful. Even if you didn't really want or need an egg timer shaped like Garfield, don't worry. Marketing can make sure that you would worship that egg timer and think of it as a status symbol. Now, the Garfield egg timer example might seem a little ridiculous to us, but an egg timer is at least marginally more useful than a diamond earring. Contrary to the belief that a diamond is forever, if you heat one up, it evaporates. Diamonds are actually quite common and would be cheap if the world's supply was controlled by more than one company. However, if you saw a diamond necklace, you would automatically give it more value than a sapphire or ruby necklace, and that's all thanks to the efforts of the De Beers Company. If the De Beers Company had been in the Garfield egg timer business, you would get your loved one a Garfield egg timer instead of a diamond engagement ring. That's how powerful marketing can be. If you get a bunch of rich people to walk around with Garfield egg timers, get the Garfield egg timer into a bunch of movies and popular culture, and raise the price of Garfield egg timers to a ridiculous amount, you will create a status symbol out of Garfield egg timers. Suddenly, millions of people around the world will be clamoring to buy your misguided tributes to Jim Davis's funny orange cat, and you will have people dreaming about living in a big house surrounded by Garfield egg timers. However, even though your lasagna loving egg timers are selling like hotcakes, you have a problem. The success of your egg timers has inspired a rival company to start selling egg timers of its own, with neat new Peter Griffin designs. But, being the smart little entrepreneur that you are, you have an idea. You shift your focus to influencing discussion in subtle ways in order to create a fierce rivalry between the Peter Griffins and the Garfields. People who buy Garfield egg timers will show an intense loyalty to their side, argue why their choice of egg timer is better, and even buy Garfield egg timer merchandise. Beautiful. You have turned your business into a religion with devout worshippers who vehemently defend their choices, making a better marketing method than you could ever dream of yourself. This is called consumer ethnocentrism, and, well, it's everywhere you look. Pepsi versus Coke, BMW versus Mercedes, Adidas versus Nike, AMD versus Intel. It's even becoming common for brand preference to be a core personality trait, with stereotypes being built around people's choices. This is the part where the audience collectively thinks, I bet he's an Android user. Now that we've covered consumer ethnocentrism, let's cover yet another one of the ills of consumerism. Not only can consumerism turn objectively useless items into highly desirable icons, it can also convince you that your 2-year-old product is hopelessly outdated and that you need a new one now, otherwise you won't be hip and with it. This is called planned obsolescence, and it is much more prevalent than you may expect. Maybe the most obvious example is how your phone seems to get slower and slower as the years go by, but there are many other examples of planned obsolescence. For instance, look at how Apple gives all their devices proprietary screws and puts them together in ways that make repairs notoriously difficult. They then force you to make appointments to their Genius Bar for the privilege of fixing your device. And then they charge you $500 for a motherboard replacement when you came in with a minor complaint about the trackpad not clicking sometimes. And why? Apple, quite literally, does this to be annoying. They make the repair process as frustrating and expensive as possible, making it more sensible just to buy a new device rather than trying to fix your old one. Of course, there are many other examples of planned obsolescence out there from a variety of other industries. I just chose Apple because I think it's an example that we've all experienced. Now, consumer ethnocentrism might be kinda dumb, and planned obsolescence annoying, but neither of these two things on their own are particularly horrible. The real issues start when you look at our world and society as a whole. Fun fact, according to the University of Southern Indiana, Americans make up around 5% of the population, yet contribute nearly 40% of global waste. We are so focused on the new and shiny that we seem to have forgotten about where the dull and old goes. A case in point, electric vehicles. Sure, I'm all for going electric instead of gas, but where does most of our electricity come from? Fossil fuels. Electric cars use lithium-ion batteries, which is the same stuff your phone uses. What do we do with our phones when the batteries start losing charge and they get kind of sluggish after a few years? Oh, yeah. We buy new ones. Oh, what's the most polluting thing on Earth? Oh, yeah, the manufacturing sector. Interestingly enough, the lithium-ion manufacturing process pollutes significantly more than many others. Electric car companies are happy to preach the benefits of going electric, but in reality they're just like any other corporation, more interested in short-term profits and luxuries rather than the welfare of our planet for generations to come. When consumerism reaches a point where we start discarding our 6-year-old Teslas like they're flip phones, we have a problem. And the core of the problem is this. Our planet has finite resources, yet nobody is willing to give up anything to save it. We stay focused on personal gain, leaving the issue of a changing world for others to deal with later on. You know, maybe our species was doomed from the start. Evolution favors those who take more for themselves, and there is no clearer example of this than the world of consumerism. Our instinct is to be scared of change, so we don't think about the consequences of our actions, especially when some of us won't even live to see them. But, and this is a rather large but, as human beings, we have more than just our animal instincts. We are gifted with the ability to think freely and share our ideas freely, which has given us all the technology and culture that sets us so far above the evolutionary rat race. The time has come for all of us to surpass our needs for more and learn the benefits of having less. Mind you, nothing will actually happen unless we all are willing to give up something. Think about this. If everyone decided to use more expensive renewable sources for manufacturing energy except for one company, that one company would be able to outcompete the rest because it would be able to produce products much cheaper. We must all be willing to sacrifice our ego for change to happen. If this does not happen, the future will only get worse. It may take revolutions that upset the very foundations of society, but such is the price we pay for supreme yarmulkes and disposable cameras. Now here's the part where I actually tell you what to do. Trying to paddle against the raging flow of consumerism is just some guy will just get you drowned. So the trick is to resist in small ways, like choosing what and when you buy. Buying unnecessary crap is incredibly tempting. So try to limit how much you shop online, and only buy things that you really, really need. The hard part here is finding the difference between need and want. If you're replacing something that's broken, try fixing it before you discard it. After you've figured out if you actually need something or not, explore alternatives from an objective point of view. And don't let branding influence your choices too much. Finally, don't be wasteful. Reuse as many things as you can. Don't throw away Ziploc bags the first time you use them, no matter how tempting it may be. Don't buy too much food in the knowledge that you might have to throw it away. Not only will doing this help you save money, it'll also help you save the environment. Follow this advice, and you will already be doing more for our future than quite a large chunk of the population. The rest is up for you to decide. We have procrastinated long enough on saving the planet, and now our generation must cram for the final exam. Thank you.